it's ASMR Cubed here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Leon Kennedy. But before we jump into that, I kind of want to give a description of what's been going on with my life, as well as thank you guys for 300 subscribers. I appreciate it more than most people would understand. Considering, when I started this channel a couple years ago, I didn't feel like my content was going to be anything that anybody would enjoy. That being said, thank you so much for 300 subs. I'm pretty sure most of you who don't make YouTube videos, might not understand it, but getting one sub, was a huge thrill to me originally when I started this. So the fact that I have 300 now is kind of mind-boggling to me. I can't imagine how big YouTubers keep it in their head, because I'm so ecstatic over 300. Anybody else looks at 300 and they're just kind of like, what? But thank you all. I appreciate it very much, and I appreciate the support in my return. With all that being said, I will be doing kind of an explanation video, a little bit about me very soon. So you guys can kind of get to know the circumstances behind why I left for so long, and I feel like I owe an explanation because you guys have had nothing but support for me, and frankly, I let everyone down when I left, and it wasn't by choice, and I kind of wanted to make that clear. But otherwise, let's go ahead and get into this ASMR biography of Leon S. Kennedy. Early life. Not much is known about Leon's prior life to his enlisting in the police academy. Upon graduating from police academy at age 21, Leon Kennedy requested assignment to work for the Raccoon City Police Department. His reasoning was because of the widely publicized murders that took place in the Arklay Mountains. Kennedy had no travel plans or apartment in Raccoon City, and in the hasty departure, his girlfriend broke up with him. Stopping in a motel for the night, he passed out from heavy drinking and woke up on the afternoon of the 29th of September. Kennedy continued driving into the city hungover and now late for reporting into the station. In one account of events, his journey to Raccoon City took place a week after a confusing phone call urging him not to come into work. Driving through Arklay County, he passed through the highway erected by the United States Army and the United States National Guard, which had fallen due to chaos within the city. Accounts differ as to when Kennedy realized the crisis in the city. In one account, he drove southward into the city as normal and was surrounded by zombies while investigating a body in the middle of the unusually quiet main road, retreating into an alleyway where he met Claire Redfield, another newcomer who herself was fleeing from a zombie within a diner. In this account, they had commandeered an RPD cruiser and drove to Raccoon Police Station to seek shelter and answers. In another account, a similar event occurred at a Miss Oil gas station just outside the city, and they hijacked an Arklay County Sheriff's Department patrol car instead. Whichever the reality was, the car was destroyed when a gasoline tanker collided with it, and the two were separated and traveled to the police station independently. The station itself had already fallen to the zombie outbreak, and the only unzombified police officers were Lieutenant Marvin Brenna, Elliot Edwards, and Police Chief Brian Irons. It's uncertain if he met anyone, but had he met Lieutenant Brenna, he would have had been briefed on current events before becoming a zombie during investigation. thoughts of suicide from his mind, should his death prevent the girl's escape in the future. In the police station basement, Kennedy met Ada Wong, a corporate spy from one of Umbrella's rival companies, sent to steal the G-Virus. To protect the mission, he was not told the truth about her mission. In one account, Wong claimed to be missing for her boyfriend, Dr. John Clemens, unaware he had perished in the Manson incident. In another account, she claimed to be an FBI agent looking for proof of Umbrella's USA's illegal bioweapons projects. Whichever the reason, she became aware of Ben Butulici, I guess that's his last name, a freelance journalist who she believed had uncovered useful information for her mission. While spying on Umbrella researchers, Ben was able to uncover information on a conspiracy between Umbrella USA and the local police, which was the reason for his arrest, but not enough for her mission. Ben was soon killed after by a mutant, and accounts differ on that, as to whether it was Dr. William as the G parasite, or the T-00BOW sent to kill the survivors in the station. Either way, Kennedy and Wong continued on to the city sewers where they found the transport to the nest, Umbrella's laboratory dedicated to G-Virus research. Kennedy was left to do much of the work himself. When in the lab, though, he himself suffered a gunshot wound. Wong's leg injury made her unable to continue. During the exploration of the laboratory, Kennedy became aware of Wong's real mission. When she was cornered, seeking the virus, accounts differ as to if she fell off a shaft or was knocked out by the T-00, or even both. What is known, however, is that she successfully escaped the facility as it began to self-destruct, but lost the G-Virus sample. Fleeing to the nest's bottom platform, Kennedy was able to reunite with Claire and a young Sherry who had been infected with the G-Virus but was vaccinated by Devil to halt her mutations. The facility was destroyed, with Dr. William Birkin perishing soon after. Now, we're going to take a look at some of the stuff following that, because they had a lot of different ways to try to explain the time after Kennedy left Raccoon City. But I guess this is supposed to be the canon, so I will have to look in and confirm later on. Following the Raccoon City incident, Claire and Kennedy split up, and she continued her search for Chris, while Kennedy continued to look after Sherry. Kennedy and Sherry were soon apprehended by the United States military. Sherry was taken away and placed in protective custody while Kennedy was interrogated by Adam Benford. Cautious, Kennedy never mentioned Claire or Wong, but the government was interested in recruiting him, since he now possessed the experience they were looking for. Kennedy accepted, but only on one condition: that Sherry would be kept in good hands. His subsequent training as a government agent turned him from a simple police rookie into an expert special forces agent, proficient in weapons handling and close quarters combat. In November 1998, Kennedy sent a personal friend, Detective Ark Thompson, out to investigate Umbrella's facilities on Sheena Island. The following month, Claire set out for Europe to continue her search for Chris. She was captured by Umbrella after being caught trespassing on one of Umbrella's facilities in Paris. While on Rockford Island, Claire sent Kennedy an email asking him to inform Chris of her location so that he could rescue her. Kennedy managed to track down Chris personally and told him of the situation with Claire, and headed for Rockford Island after her. In 2002, before the destruction of the Russian branch of Umbrella, Kennedy was sent to a small South American country as part of a secret military detachment. After the headquarters were informed of a former researcher from Umbrella contacting a man named Javier Hidalgo. Due to the difficult nature of the operation, Jack sent on a mission by the United States government to infiltrate the small South American country. Finding Javier was their objective, since he was a drug lord who had taken over a large portion of the area of the jungle with an iron fist. The small government was unable to do anything about Javier's control over the drug trade, requiring Krauser and Kennedy to intervene. The United States government had received information that a former Umbrella researcher somehow entered the region with an unexplained incidents occurring in the country. Unwilling to risk a biohazard outbreak, the pair are deployed to investigate the country. They later find themselves having to cooperate as a two-man cell in a T-virus outbreak. Kennedy also met a mysterious girl called Manuela, I think that's how you say her name, who seemed to be the only survivor of the village. Though it was unknown why she didn't escape, Manuela turned out to be Javier's daughter. She contracted a rare disease and was kept alive by her father through the T. Veronica virus. While exploring Javier's compound, Kennedy opened up to Jack Krauser about his hellish nightmare in Raccoon City, as well as Claire's encounter with the T. Veronica virus, to explain how Umbrella BOWs worked. Eventually, Kennedy and Krauser fought Javier after the crime lord combined himself with a plant infected with the T. Veronica virus. Manuela assisted them by unleashing the effects of the virus on her father, and Javier was killed, and Manuela was taken into U.S. government custody. Kennedy parted ways with Krauser after the latter is discharged from an injury during the mission. Sometime later that year, Kennedy learned that his former partner had died in an accident. In 2004, the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, was abducted from the University of Massachusetts on her way home in what had all the hallmarks of an inside job. American spies reported having seen the girl, Ashley Graham, in Spain and tracked her to an isolated rural community, with all government agencies being thoroughly investigated to identify the mole. Kennedy was sent alone to investigate the area. After arriving with two municipal Madridian police officers, Kennedy was almost immediately attacked by the local villagers, who forced the two officers into a ravine. Approaching the village uncovered evidence of multiple murders performed by the villagers as a whole. Over the course of the day, it was uncovered that the villagers were following a neo-pagan cult called Los Illuminados, led by its prophet Osman Sadler and his lieutenant Barritos Menendez and Ramon Salazar. They are implanted a genetically engineered parasite called the plaga into members as part of their baptismal ceremonies to ensure obedience before ordering them to kill all intruders to protect their research. Kennedy himself was taken captive by the cult immediately after finding a hostage and implanted with one of the plagas. In the Prophet Sadler's hopes he would become useful. The reason for this was not widely known, even to his lieutenants, and the villagers were more than willing to continue trying to kill him, as his fellow hostage, who had escaped with Dr. Louis Serra. I keep forgetting how to pronounce his last name, because, I only played Resident Evil 4 about 100 times. Was a mole within the Prophet Sadler's bioweapons development program, and was captured trying to escape with a soul-dominant species plaga, an egg, in exchange for being rescued by the organization. A secretive group run by Dr. Albert Wesker was connected with, unwilling at the time to reveal this information. Instead, he lied about being a former Madridian police officer and was held captive. Kennedy search throughout the village suggested that Graham was being held within a chapel, but it would be over 6 hours before he was able to get inside after passing out, possibly from complications involving the plaga. Inside, he quickly released Graham from captivity, but the two were confronted by the Prophet Sadler, who had revealed that he had implanted... I'm sorry, I must be misreading that. Who had revealed that he implanted plaga eggs with the intention of Graham being released back to the United States as a mole so he could expand his power base. The two attempted to escape from the village, but soon found the government helicopter on standby to pick them up had been shot down, which Leon theorized could have been the moles doing. This act forced them to seek shelter for the night, initially in a secluded house, and later in a nearby castle. Along the way, Kennedy was forced to fight F.R. Menendez, who was angry at the loss of his congregation. During the exploration of the castle, the government's radio frequency was jammed, the mole having detailed knowledge of their radio frequencies. Soon after, Kennedy was introduced to Salazar, a young nobleman who controlled the castle and boasted an army of monks armed with medieval weaponry. Graham herself was taken hostage repeatedly, leaving Kennedy on his own for much of the night. Near the courtyard, he ran into Wong, who quickly deduced that she was working with Dr. Wesker's group, who was an agent sent to retrieve Dr. Serra's egg sample. Dr. Serra himself was killed soon after by the Prophet Sadler, and who saw no reason to keep him alive when he saw that he had the sample in his hand. The Prophet Sadler then left Los Illuminados to his research complex on a nearby island with Graham, while Kennedy was forced to explore the entire fortress ruins of an ancient underground city to a cathedral on a tower. After killing Salazar, whose body managed to merge into the Plaga Queen, Kennedy traveled to the island with Wong in search of Graham once more. In the exploration of the island, Kennedy was able to rescue Graham from her prison cell and fought BOW byproducts from plaga experimentation. After traveling through a warehouse district where plans to set up a navy were in place, Graham was again taken captive, this time by the Prophet Sadler directly controlling and manipulating her by the plaga. In the pursuit, Kennedy was confronted by none other than Jack Krauser, who had joined the organization after his experiences in South America and faked his death. Krauser had been the original agent tackled with obtaining the dominant species plaga sample and took part in the kidnapping of Ashley Graham to get it, with Wong being sent in to take over the mission when he was determined to be a liability after becoming the host of that very plaga sample. As the sun rose, Kennedy's fight against the Los Illuminados continued, with him seriously wounding Krauser and following the mutation, mistook him for dead. Wong would later kill him. With the radio jamming cease, Kennedy got in contact with a second government helicopter and launched an assault on the cult's militia before being destroyed by a rocket launcher on Prophet Sadler's orders, taking clues left behind by Dr. Sierra. For anyone storming the island, Kennedy and Graham were able to find the original equipment designed to kill the prototype plaga and freed themselves from the parasites. The cult leader himself, killed by a rocket launcher with the help of Ida Wong after Ashley Graham's rescue. Kennedy's retrieval of the egg sample, however, was short-lived as Ida Wong turned on him to complete her mission. Though she ensured his means of escape from the island, with Graham in the form of a jet ski. The two escaped as a series of explosive charges planted by Wong caused the complex's destruction, bringing about cave-ins. United States government. Kennedy's report on the Plaga, dubbed the Kennedy Report, wow, that's yikes, was shared with the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance to ensure a defense against Plaga in the future. Kennedy would later become aware of the survivors of the cult in the region who gained interest in bioterrorism. Refugees who had fled the cult also returned home to their villages, but were parasited by the Plaga, making the region dangerous once more. In the years following the 2004 Terra Gracia panic, the threat of bioterrorism was increasing. Former Umbrella researchers were suspected of selling bioweapons on the black market, requiring ever more radical countermeasures. The United States government entered an agreement with the pharmaceutical giant Will Pharma Corporation to mass-produce a T-virus vaccine that could eliminate the operational effectiveness of Umbrella's lead viral weapon. In August 2005, soldiers loyal to General Miguel Grande got their hands on the T-virus and triggered an outbreak in India, which was halted thanks to Will Pharma's vaccine. In 2005, a coordinated terrorist attack took place in the Harvardville Airport. It's Harvardville Airport, causing a riot in the terminal as well as a plane crash. The U.S. AMRIDD confirmed, wow, that is a huge name, confirmed a T-virus strain was responsible, and the 75th Ranger Regiment was deployed to Will Pharma to wipe out the zombies. With Will Pharma ordered to vaccinate each soldier, as well as civilians in quarantine, President Graham also sent Kennedy in to oversee the operation due to his familiarity with fighting zombies. Kennedy led a police team into the airport to rescue 5 survivors ahead of the Ranger attack and succeeded with rescuing Senator Ron Davis and his old friend Claire Redfield. During the airport cleanup, Kennedy received updated information from Ingrid Hunnigan that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had arrested a soldier in General Grande's army in Los Angeles and was holding him for questioning. Soon, he received word that there was to be a major bioweapons attack across the United States, and the government's refusal to reveal its involvement in the original T-virus project. When Will Pharma's truck exploded in a bombing, Kennedy began investigating Dr. Curtis Miller, an opponent of Will Pharma, who had been sighted at the airport during the time of the attack. Driving up to Dr. Miller's house with Dr. Miller's younger sister and SRT member, agent named Angela Miller, the two found it had burnt to the ground, preventing a search. There soon after, they were alerted to an explosion at Will Pharma's Air Dome laboratory on the city's outskirts and set off to there. Kennedy and a ranger squad made their way into Will Pharma's laboratory, which had been heavily damaged in the bombing, causing a T-virus outbreak there. Redfield was the only remaining uninfected survivor, being sheltered on the top floor of the building with the chief researcher, Dr. Frederick Downing. Believed dead in the bombing, Dr. Miller was found on the ground, having infected himself with the Goliath virus, something obtained on the black market. The G-mutant wiped out the Ranger squad and began hunting down his sister, who he instinctively needed as a tool to propagate his new species. Kennedy was able to keep Angela from her brother, and the two made their way into the underground accessway to escape. Due to the elaborate biohazard containment measures put into place by the architects, Dr. Miller was killed after falling down a shaft into an oncoming explosion. In the aftermath of the attack, Kennedy and Redfield became aware that something was out of place. Hunnigan reported in that the generals had finally caved into FBI investigation and revealed that he was merely a courier for taking the virus and the T-virus vaccine and the G-virus out of the country. Evidence implicated not Dr. Miller, but Dr. Downing, having apparently faked his own death in the bombing to escape with samples. Kennedy, Angela, and Redfield drove on to the Curry's intended deal site and found Dr. Downing waiting. He was subsequently arrested and confessed to being an employee of the Nest, having stolen the G-virus sample and changed his name during the escape from Raccoon City. The India outbreak had been masterminded by Dr. Miller as a means of advertising both the T-virus and the T-vaccine, with Dr. Miller being radicalized to carry out further attacks in the United States. As further confirmation, following his arrest, Will Pharma Corporation collapsed and was purchased by Tricell through Wesker's acquisition. In the following 4 years, Wesker built up a criminal empire for himself with Tricell's resources, leading to a massive fragmentation upon his death at the hands of the BSAA in 2009. Subsequently, in 2010, at one of the terror-safe reunions, Kennedy and Chris Redfield met for the first time. Thanks to Claire's presentation, and it created a new friendship that would help break barriers between the BSAA and United States government. Now we're going to get into the Eastern Slav Civil War. This is more of, we're into the movie stuff now, which is kind of something I didn't want to cover, but I mean, hey, 300 subscriber special, so why not? Alright, in February 2011, the United States government began investigating allegations that rebel forces in the Eastern Slav Republic's ongoing civil war were using bioweapons. Kennedy was ordered out of his vacation to meet up with the CIA agent, Scarecrow, and use any information to aid in his investigation. The situation reversed soon after Kennedy's arrival, when the government ordered its agents to pull out of the country. Kennedy ignored these orders and made his way through the war-torn Holigrad. He succeeded in meeting with Scarecrow, but he soon died of wounds after being attacked by a series of lickers, and could only utter one word: beekeeper. Soon after, Kennedy was captured by Ivan, we're just going to call him Ivan because I can't pronounce that last name, the rebel leader who was using the dominant species Plaga to control the parasited lickers. I really need to watch this film, that would be interesting to see. Kennedy woke up in a basement tied up and guarded by Alexander, I can't again say his name, but they call him JD in the movie, who were concerned about why an American would be sent into the area. The intended interrogation failed to take place when the house became a target to be searched by Eastern Slav Army. Kennedy himself took note of JD, who sat in the room coughing, and immediately suspected he was deteriorating due to bioweaponry. The three rebels abandoned their base, hideout, and proceeded through the tunnels to escape the army, with Kennedy following them. In the tunnels, Kennedy was attacked by a Ganado, a former rebel leader named Janenkov, whose mind had been taken over by the parasite. I really can't say half of these names. Meanwhile, received a promotion in leadership by JD, who had ordered his own execution to prevent turning into a similar monster. Kennedy and JD's escaped the tunnels on their own, heading towards the church the rebels were using as a base. The two evaded a number of Ganados and witnessed unforeseen unforeseen effects of the rebels using them. Seeing numerous civilians implanted with parasites into captives, when they arrived at the church, J.D. accused Kennedy of being behind what was happening to the people of the town. Kennedy informed him of the plugger, telling him that it was a parasite infecting the bodies of those people. He just told J.D. of the harsh truth that those infected would never be human again, the one most could achieve is to remove the spinal cord and hope for paralysis. At that moment, Buddy entered the church, and the two other members of the resistance, a third watching from above. Buddy informed J.D. that Kennedy was telling the truth, then told Kennedy that he had more questions for him. Responding to that, he perhaps this time they can get the truth. Buddy promptly punched Kennedy and had other rebels take him hostage again. After Buddy departed, J.D. ordered the other soldiers to allow him to speak with Kennedy alone. He was taken outside, where J.D. cut his bindings and Kennedy immediately acted, slamming J.D. against the wall and criticizing the methods of the rebel group using POWs. Although J.D. tried to rationalize it for sympathy, Kennedy dismissed it, telling J.D. that it was something that the two of them would never see eye to eye on. As Kennedy prepared to leave, J.D. told Kennedy that it was something the two of them... J.D. told Kennedy of Buddy's past. He had explained how the government soldiers attacked the school Buddy used to work at with his fiancée, Irina. Thinking the school was supported the rebels, Kennedy found out that when Irina and the school children were killed in the attack, Buddy decided to join the resistance. J.D. pleaded with Kennedy to save Buddy, to get him, to get the plaga before him, so that he didn't have to see his friend turn into a monster. Returning his machine gun to him, J.D. told Kennedy that Buddy was heading to Central Marketplace, where the Council of Elders had left the plaga for the rebels. Kennedy silently took his gun back and headed off to the marketplace. Kennedy's arrival at the marketplace to find the case that was holding the plaga empty. A voice immediately caught Kennedy's attention, causing Kennedy to turn swiftly and attack. The two fought briefly. Wong easily evaded Kennedy's attacks as she flipped away and aimed her grappling gun at him. Kennedy, finally realizing who she was, questioned what Ada Wong was doing in the Eastern Slav Republic. Wong merely retorted with the same question. He immediately followed up by asking if she was responsible for releasing the plaga, a notion she found laughable, noting that she wasn't interested in a defective product. Wong spoke briefly and mysteriously about her job, causing Kennedy to ask again why she was there. She flirted with him briefly, asking when they would continue where they left off from that night. Kennedy smirked and simply told her any time but then. Amused by Kennedy's rejection, Wong made her escape, warning him that the town would soon be purged. Ooh, wow. Well, that's always a fun interaction. The agents return at the church to find most of the inhabitants dead, but by the hands of J.D. J.D. tells Kennedy that he merely let his guard down for a second. He returns Kennedy's gear before he begins to turn. Buddy arrives and blames Kennedy for whatever happened, but J.D. claims Kennedy is not their enemy. J.D. succumbs to the plaga. Wow, that sucks. I haven't watched this one. I really need to, though. I think this is Damnation. JD succumbs to the Plaga and attacks Buddy. However, he is promptly killed by Kennedy. Kennedy tries to reason with Buddy, asking him to hand over the Plaga, to which he refuses. The government then began bombing the area, causing the church to collapse. Buddy escapes and Kennedy pursues him. Kennedy makes his way towards the presidential building, which has been left devastated by the lickers. Leaving hundreds of dead soldiers, Kennedy infiltrates the building and then is encountered by two lickers who fail to detect him until a soldier reaches for his leg, whimpering in pain. Kennedy runs from them, managing to kill one and causing the other to fall to its demise. After he charges through a door which leads to a massive elevator shaft, Kennedy descends into the BOW manufacturing facility. He once again encounters Wong, who informs him that they are mass-producing control Plaga. Kennedy and Wong are quickly surrounded by the guards and confronted by, again, I can't read this name, the president of the East Slav Republic. Wong deactivates the lights to make her escape. Kennedy uses the confusion to shoot at some of the guards, prompting them to begin firing in a panic, hitting each other indiscriminately. Kennedy allowing Kennedy to take Belikova hostage. I guess that's gonna be his name. As he attempted to make his escape, he asked Belikova if she was the beekeeper, the one who released the Plaga. Belikova then realized that he had no idea who she was and identified herself as the president of the Republic before displaying her combat skills to him by throwing him off. A fight ensued between Kennedy and Belikova's guards, which soon was interrupted by Buddy and a horde of lickers. However, Belikova's released her own bioweapons. The two advanced tyrants that initiated the biohazard alert, and the facility began preparations for incineration. Buddy and Kennedy had escaped the facility as the two tyrants incidentally caused the elevator to fall. A third tyrant followed them out of what? A third tyrant followed them out, and then they attempted to fight it. Buddy used the lickers to lure the tyrant over to a tanker full of explosives, and Kennedy promptly shot it with an incendiary round, destroying the creature's power limiter. With its power increasing, Buddy drove a tank at it, and Kennedy aimed the turret in an attempt to shoot the tyrant's head, but the BOW constantly evaded, so Buddy summoned a licker to cover the tyrant's face, allowing Kennedy to blow its head clean off. Climbing out of the tank, Kennedy remarked that after years of fighting BOWs, he never expected to be saved by one. His relief short-lived as the two other tyrants soon after emerged from the presidential palace. Kennedy attempted to help Buddy flee, but were unable to outrun them. Kennedy drew his combat knife, the only weapon he had left. To his luck, an American plane killed the creatures before they could reach him. At this point, Kennedy realized the United States government had been watching him the entire time. Watching a joint American-Russian task force invade the capital, Buddy asked Kennedy if he knew what would happen. Kennedy stated that he did not know, and he would remain on vacation. Buddy asked Kennedy to kill him, as he doesn't want to turn. Kennedy refused. Buddy attempts to shoot himself only for Kennedy to take his gun, and he tells Buddy that he owes it to the people who died alongside him to keep living. Kennedy then shoots Buddy in the spinal cord, severing his link to the Plaga. Wow. Well, that's some tragic ending stuff. There's some more footnotes here, and that other game that we don't talk about that had Leon Kennedy in it, last one that really wasn't that good. Anyway, this has been going for 40 minutes in recording time. I've actually been trying to record this for 2 hours. So, forgive me if this seems short, but I didn't really like Resident Evil 6, and apparently it's getting retconned anyway. Spoilers. So, yeah, there'll be more of these coming very soon. Thank you again for 300 subscribers, and I appreciate you all.